When I start working, I'm looking forward to experiencing the things that I did while I was doing the program. It was so nice. Like, I can't wait for after finishing my degree so that I can start working and also join the program so that I can help other young girls.
Exactly the point about other young girls. I'm wondering if they're starting to ask questions. Do you get people being curious about what you do and about what science means to you?
Not really.
Not really.
Yeah.
Which is quite interesting because then again, it still maintains that people are still afraid of science.
Yeah.
I mean, I must be honest, I am afraid of science too.
It's understandable. You know, when you think of science, you're just thinking of, the difficult things. And it's not that bad, actually. It's quite interesting. So I encourage more girls to come in.
All right, let's hear then from Funani in East London. Good morning, Funani.
Yes, morning, Xolan, and greetings to your guest.
Yeah, welcome.
Well, I think we've had similar discussions, 5 years ago or so, in the similar programs, where they were discussing taking a girl child to work. It's a good program. We've admired it then. We still say it's a good program. However, on my view, on my side, there are challenges that we may face 20 years, 15 years down the line, where we come back and talk about taking a boy child to work, where we talk about a techno boy. Because, truth be told, the apartheid system of yesteryears discriminated one group against the other. Black people ended up being the hewers of wood and were domestic workers of many forms. So what we see today, the remnants of that apartheid has produced a number of boys. When I say boys, I don't really mean boys as young boys, but men. We have many men who are today queuing in street corners waiting for jobs. We see young boys, in the literal sense, being in prison, committing more crimes than we never thought of before, largely because they've never been exposed to education. So in my view, when we take a boy child to work or a girl child to work, we must be taking children to work regardless of their gender. The minister said there are more girls at school today. It's true. In my science class at high school and at varsity, there were many girls than there were boys. And today we see the result of that. We see a lot of girls progressing more than boys are progressing today. So what kind of fathers are we developing? We're developing... Hello?
Sorry to interrupt you, Funani, because having said that, the minister also pointed out that the problem is that at university you get girls taking on humanities and other subjects like arts and not necessarily sticking with science.
If you can get the people who are doing BSc at university, I was doing that BSc at Rhodes University. There were more girls in my class than there were boys. What we start to see, after a junior degree, we see less girls than boys. I think that is what we should be talking about. But generally, we should be taking children to school. We should be taking children to work. When we have a boy child and girl child to work, both of them. So that, Tolan, we don't sit here in the next 10 years to talk about how do we change the situation where men would have been left out because of the program that focused on one gender against the other.
All right, Funani in East London, I'm going to ask the minister to respond to your comments, but maybe Nomthandazo also has a response to that. How would you respond to somebody like Funani?
Well, I'm doing my first year at BSc in chemistry, and there are more boys than girls. So this program is helping to change that, because you find that more girls are, like you said, more girls are doing arts and humanities and all that. So this program is kind of giving us girls hope that we can do it too. So, and I'm doing my first year. I know those things. And I can see in my class there are more boys than girls, in engineering especially. So this program is helping to change that so that we can be equalized. Okay, maybe in 10 years' time, 5 years' time, when we have reached an equal amount of girls and boys, then that's when they can take a boy child to work.
But in your experience, you think young girls need a lot of reassurance right now to say that they too can make it?
Yes, because from my school, I was doing first year, and if you can check, maybe there are less than 10 kids who are doing science now. Most of them went to arts and all the other things. So you can see there's still,
Okay. All right, let's take Pat in Freiburg. Good morning to you, Pat.
Good morning, Tolani.
Hi.
My experience is that I've been a beneficiary of such a program as a boy. And I'm grateful to all the efforts of the people that helped me to be where I am now. Eskiam Pachelo was my role model. He took us out of the street and helped us to become journalists without ever having going to a university. So I know that this program does work. Concentrating on the girls is a good effort because it will prove that even black kids can do mathematics contrary to what Verwoerd thought. So it's a question of social effort and policy, and this is implementing a government program or a government policy. So it does work, it does change our perceptions, and it does prove to Verwoerd that whatever he thought was right is actually wrong, because now on hindsight we can see girls succeeding even up to PhD level. So I'm just saying a big up to the minister, and I agree with the guy who called as well to say that something must be done for the boys as well, so that we don't have to come back 40 years from now and say, what about the boys?
All right, Patton Fireberg. Minister, do you want to respond to that concern then, particularly about striking that balance between girls and boys?
Yes, Xolani. I said at the beginning, our research has shown that we have almost 50% boys and girls at school. We have reached almost universal access to education for all our children in South Africa. The Department of Higher Education and Department of Basic Education are ensuring that even children who do not have funding have access to education. We have the no-fee schools, but also the Department of Higher Education is providing bursaries, loans, and these companies that we're working with, the Anglo-Americans, the Anglo-Plats, the Department of Mining, for instance, Mineral Resources. The minister this year launched a similar project, which is giving bursaries to girls, and the Minister for Energy also a similar bursaries for girls in energy. But what we're saying is this is a universal phenomenon. It's not just here in South Africa. In March, when we were at the UN Commission on the Status of Women, and the theme was Education and Training, Science and Technology, focusing on the girl child. The research worldwide by the UN was that girls don't do science and technical subjects, including mathematics. They are scared of these because of the way we've socialized girls. Ukuti, they will be home, they will be looking after kids. What is important are the home and social services for girls. So it's a cultural thing. It's not just in South Africa or in Africa. It's in all countries. If you look at engineers, most of them are men. If you look at scientists, how many of them are women? Yeah. If you look at technicians generally, they are mostly men. Okay. And all we are saying is that we cannot keep half of society in this world locked out in the kitchen. We've got to open up and use all those brains that have been made available to the world, and we must use all that potential to ensure economic growth and development in our countries.
All right.
We're not suppressing anybody, but we're just encouraging and inspiring those that are still left out.
Okay, a little earlier on, of course, Nadi said that they, as UNICEF, go out there to identify some of these girls. And there's an SMS here that I'm going to ask Nadi to respond to, coming through from Arnolds, I think, or Margaret Arnolds, who says, not all of us know about this program. Schools in Eldos, for instance, do not know much about it. Do they make sure then that everybody knows? But before you respond there, Nadi, let me ask Bukhosi then and Kelvin to come through. He's on the line. Bukhosi, good morning.
Pepet.
Baba.
Yeah, Pepet, I am chairing a trust fund, a very tiny trust fund, which looks after, takes care of previously disadvantaged children. I'm mainly financing students in the University of Technology. I have problems in placing these children after they have graduated in jobs, and I'm very interested to know how to go about. I'll make a very quick example. This past year, I had 2 internal audit students who have graduated. I've had big problems getting them position in corporate South Africa. Approached all big accounting firms in the country. None of them were interested. Not even to respond to my letter to say we're not interested. Don't waste our time. I even went to the Auditor General they were performing exceptionally well. They were getting good marks. I went to the Auditor General, wrote there and say, can you give these children exposure? There were 2 young girls. Can you give them exposure during the June holidays with the view of giving them permanent jobs when they graduate? Not if the DCLC to reply to say, no, we're not interested. This is the big problem. It's not only these 2 girls who have done internal auditing. I also educated another girl who was doing chemical engineering. I had problems placing her. I don't even know where she is now.
Okay.
She completed her diploma in Faltech in chemical engineering. I'm very interested. I want to know how to go about placing these children when they graduate.